Well, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for coming. I wasn't sure how many people would be able to attend. It is 2:30, so we'll get started. My name's Mick Walker. Michael, really. My mother and sister are here. They're probably the only people who call me Michael. Most people know me as Mick. I'm 62. I'm a cyclist, and I now live entirely on plant-based nutrition. I say now, and I use the term plant-based for a particular reason, and I'll come on to that in a second. This is a picture taken earlier this year, which was, if any of you recognise it, I was just getting to the top of Honister Pass in the Lake District as part of the Fred Whitten Challenge. More of that a little bit later. My son actually was about 20 yards in front of me, unfortunately, and there's a picture of him and he's smiling. I'm looking a bit grim there, aren't I, really? But he is 30 years younger than me, so I suppose that's reasonable. I haven't eaten meat for over 30 years. I have continued with dairy and eggs, and for a short time fish. Again, a little bit more about that later. But earlier this year, for various reasons, I decided to go on to a completely plant-based diet. And I've noticed huge benefits almost from day one. And I'm now kind of putting myself forward as a bit of a champion of a vegan-based, plant-based diet, particularly to maintain fitness in older life. And that's really what I'm hoping to get across this afternoon. A good friend of mine who I've been friendly with since school, we walk together quite often in the Lake District. And in recent years, he's 1 year older than me, but in recent years we've been sort of speculating how much longer we're going to be able to do this. You know, do you think we'll be doing it in 20 years? Well, maybe not. Maybe 15 years, maybe 10 years. We're pretty confident in 10 years. I'm getting more confident that it's going to be even longer than that because of the way I've changed my diet. And actually he's now, I know, had a text from him the other night saying he'd just been out for a vegan meal. I was quite impressed, really. But one of the things he also said to me recently was, surely you are fitter at the moment because you're doing so much exercise. And I thought about that a bit, and then I found this on the internet, and I realised that actually, yeah, I am fit because I'm doing a lot of exercise, but my diet is contributing massively to that. And I want to just look at that a little bit now. Now, before I go on to that, I mean, I'm probably telling you stuff that you all know here, but it's quite interesting how people categorise their diets. You know, I suppose an omnivore is what's considered normal. That is, you would eat meat, you'd eat dairy products, you'd eat eggs, and hopefully a nice range of vegetables and fruits. If people choose to deviate from that diet, one of the most common ones is that they cut meat out, although fish, of course, is a type of meat, it's animal protein, and they would describe themselves as pescatarian. I was pescatarian for quite a long time. My wife and I decided to stop eating red meat and chicken in the early 1980s. But we did carry on with dairy. I don't understand quite why we did now, the more I think about it, but we did. And our two sons were born soon after that. And I think we probably thought, I mean, I'm a biologist, and I should have realised really that, you know, the best way to get protein is from an animal-based source. So that's probably why we carried on with fish. People who choose not to eat fish, but do continue to eat dairy and eggs, are usually what are classed as vegetarian. I saw a tweet recently where somebody showed a label from a food product, said suitable for vegetarians, contains milk and eggs. You know, and the tweet was, you know, what's vegetarian about milk and eggs? Well, the idea of vegetarian has really come to just mean somebody who doesn't eat animal flesh. Sometimes they're further classified into OVO or LACTO-vegetarians, whether they choose to eat eggs or whether they choose to eat dairy, or, you know, an OVO-LACTO-vegetarian, which is sometimes asked for on airplane flights and so on, is a vegetarian who's quite happy to eat eggs or dairy products. People not eating dairy products is becoming more and more common because of lactose intolerance. And there's something very interesting cropped up about that only this week, I think, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And then there's the idea of a plant-based diet. Now, quite a lot of people out there claim to live on a plant. A lot of athletes, a surprising number of athletes, do live on a plant-based diet. That means they eat nothing of animal origin whatsoever. So what's the difference between that and a vegan? Well, I began to realise that, a vegan is somebody who doesn't use any animal products of any sort whatsoever. So they wouldn't wear leather shoes, they wouldn't eat honey because they think it's exploiting the bees. They don't like the idea of exploitation whatsoever.